Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's April 11, 2023, and this is episode 811. In preparation for my upcoming Namibia tours in April and May of 2023, I bought a couple of inexpensive pieces of gear that might turn out to be pretty good. Generally, I regret buying cheap, and I may still regret these purchases, but I thought I'd share my thinking at this point and then update you as I walk you through the trip on my return. The first thing I bought was a TT Artisan 11mm f2.8 fisheye lens. I've had my eye on this company's lenses for a while, and after recalling that I did in fact miss the extra few millimeters that I lost when I traded in my 11 to 24mm EF lens for a 15 to 35mm RF lens, but as Canon has not yet released anything super wide for the RF mount, I decided to see what the TT Artisan offering was like. Well, the build is all metal, including the hood, which slides over the front of the lens nicely, and the lens itself feels high quality, with a very retro feel to it. There are no contacts between the lens and the camera, so operating the lens is completely manual. There is a focus ring and an aperture ring, which turns with just the right amount of resistance. On an aesthetic note, not only does the lens have a nice retro feel to it, but the box it comes in is very reminiscent of the sort of boxes that my 50-year-old Rolleiflex camera came in, which I thought was a nice touch. It also has molded foam inside to completely support the lens during storage and transportation, which is comforting. I bought the lens from Amazon Japan and saw that there was supposed to be some software available from TT Artisan to correct the fisheye distortion, essentially giving me a rectilinear image, which is what you often end up with out of the camera with some high-end fisheye or ultra-wide lenses. I figured that I'd use that sometimes, though not all the time, as the fisheye look is part of the appeal. But I was disappointed to find that TT Artisan currently do not have the Photoshop plugin available for their 11mm fisheye. You can download what they say is it, but when you unpack the zip file, the file name suggests it's for a different lens, and a quick round robin with their support team confirmed that they don't currently have this software available. Hopefully it will become available in the future, and if it does, I'll try to remember to change the text on this post to add a note about that. I did get a chance to do a few test shots with the lens though, during a walk in the park, and I was pleasantly surprised by the image quality. It's not quite as sharp as the top of the line Canon RF-L lens, but it's pretty close. When you consider that this fisheye lens from TT Artisan costs around 10% of the cost of a Canon L lens, I can live with the very slight softness that I can detect when inspecting images at 100%. I've embedded a few example images into the blog post for this episode at mbp.ac/811. Here are two images. Firstly, the original image of some crepe myrtle trees that really show the fisheye distortion, but along with it is a 100% crop from the first image so that you can see how sharp this lens is. If I recall, I shot it with an aperture of between f8 and f11, which should be the sharpest aperture zone, but I'm pretty happy with these results. To view the images larger, click on them and they'll open up in the Lightbox. Here also is my obligatory tree shot with the camera pointing straight up. Everybody does this when they get a super wide lens, and I don't like to disappoint. Besides, I actually really like this type of shot, being an avid and active tree hugger. The cool thing with this sort of shot is that although the horizon is distorted, the trees all end up pointing straight to the center of the frame. I'll be putting this lens to the test again next week as I photograph the Milky Way from the Quiver Tree Forest near Keetmanshoop in Namibia as we get started on the first of 2 tours in April and May this year. I'm not sure how much I'll miss the tools to fix the resulting images and remove the distortion, and I certainly feel that it would be a good idea to ensure that I also shoot some images with my Canon RF 15-35mm lens, but it should be fun to see what this offering from TT Artisan will provide me with. The second inexpensive but pretty good item I bought recently is a camera bag branded as being from a company called Energy Power, but I cannot find this same brand on Amazon.com, so I can't provide a link. I imagine there is a company in China making these and selling them to any company that wants to market them. As you can see from the images, the one that I got is grey canvas, although they had green and beige as well. It's marketed as a 25-litre bag, which seems a little ambitious. It's more like an 18-litre bag. Although it is well designed with a few nice touches that I figured would be nice to have, especially while travelling to and within Namibia. You might also notice a new Really Right Stuff tripod, but that doesn't class as inexpensive, so I'll talk about that in a future episode. The first thing I need in a camera bag for international travel is a laptop compartment, because pretty much all of the economy flights that I buy only allow me to carry on one carry-on bag and do not include an allowance for a personal effects bag, which used to make it possible to take a laptop bag as a carry-on as well. Of course, I don't want to carry my laptop around with me in the field, so I will take a laptop bag in my soft duffel bag, and I will use that in Namibia, transferring all of my computer-related stuff to that when I get to our first lodge. In addition to being able to strap a tripod on the side, there are also straps on the bottom of the bag if you use a small enough tripod to carry sideways. But I've taken them straps out for now. I might put them back for the trip, as I sometimes end up strapping a light down or fleece jacket to my bag as it warms up during the day. Another thing that I find essential for trips on which we shoot wildlife is the ability to put the camera into the bag with my 100-500mm lens attached, as you can see in the third image of this bag. I really like that I can open the top of the bag and pull that camera and long lens out without opening the whole bag. With there still being some room free above the camera and a little more below the bottom of the lens, I think I can probably even stow the camera with an extender fitted. However, we cannot fully shorten the lens with the RF extenders on, so I'm not sure I want to leave the whole thing set up and attached to the camera while it's in the bag for very long. I'm also happy that this bag has a zipper on the side to gain access to an extra lens, such as my 100mm macro in this next photo. I don't take the macro to Namibia, so I've not decided what I'll put there yet, but it's nice to have the options. If I need anything that is not accessible from the top or side flaps, I have to lay the bag down on its front and open the back of the camera bag to get at the contents. But I would have to do that with all of my other bags of a similar storage volume. The other thing that I think is behind the brand name of Energy Power, at least here in Japan, is that plastic thing that you can see on the side of the bag above the side pocket. Inside the bag, there's a USB cable that you can attach to a rechargeable power pack, and then plug in USB accessories to the port located face down under that plastic cover. I imagine it's just wiring with no electronics, so it wouldn't surprise me if I couldn't put a solar panel on the outside of the bag and use that to charge the power pack as well. There are 2 layers of pockets on the bottom half of the back of the bag, which I feel have too weak a magnet in their buckles to feel very secure. I wish they were buckles instead of snap-shut magnets, if that's all they could afford. One other thing that I'm slightly concerned about is that the nylon straps between the padded shoulder straps and the bottom left and right corners of the bag are not really wide enough for the weight that this bag is supposed to hold. I feel as though that could be the fail point of the bag, and hope that it doesn't snap as I'm travelling overseas. If these straps make it through my upcoming Namibia trips, I'll be happier, and will of course let you know, especially if they fail. So the point of this podcast and post today is to let you know about these 2 pieces of kit that I've called inexpensive because they don't feel cheap. They are definitely not a lot of money for what they are. The lens cost me the equivalent of around $270 at the current exchange rate, and the bag was about $75, so really only a fraction of the cost that I would usually pay for this kind of gear. I'm perhaps taking a bit of a risk, but it's not a lot of money if things don't work out. As I mentioned, I couldn't find the bag on Amazon.com, but I could find the TT Artisan lens. So if you're thinking of picking one of these up and want to support the podcast and website, please use my Amazon affiliate link, which I have embedded in the blog post at mbp.ac/811. And I get a little payment from Amazon as well, which all helps to keep the wheels on the wagon. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, which comes with various benefits depending on your contribution, from basic support and access to the MBP community forum to full-blown photography mentorships. For further details, check out our Patreon page at mbp.ac/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with another episode, but in the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.